There's something about Taiwan na napapabilib talaga kami and malamang hindi ito yung nasa isip mo.
Ang tinutukoy ko, hindi yung night markets, hindi rin yung mga shopping centers.
And nope, hindi Taipei 101.
In this video, samahan nyo kami mag-travel across northern Taiwan. And along the way, isusplok namin kung ano ang something na yan. Hey Dirty Peter, we are Vince.
And Yosh, nung pinaplano namin itong video, ang initial objective namin was to simply visit yung mga magagandang day trip destinations na accessible from Taipei City. Yun lang, simple lang.
Pero habang naglilibot-libot kami, may napansin kaming theme, may pattern. If magsistick ka lang sa mga usual attractions, malamang hindi mo mapapansin ito. But if you take a series of day trips, all within reach of the Taipei City Center, makikita mo that Taiwan is quietly obsessed with transforming places and giving them new life without erasing their history.
So, samahan nyo kaming pumunta sa mga lugar na to.
Starting about an hour south of Taipei City. Dito sa Ilan County, makikita itong Lodong Forestry Culture Park.
100 years ago, itong 16-hectare na lupain na to sa downtown Ludong was one of the most important industrial sites sa northern Taiwan. Under Japanese rule, yung mga bundok around the area were logged aggressively. And yung mga timber na yon, kailangan may paglagyan. Yun yung naging papel ng Ludong. Nagtayo yung mga loggers ng narrow gauge railway para ilipat yung mga naputol na puno mula sa bundok papunta dito. And dito, nagtayo sila ng isang napakalaking storage pond kung saan pinapalutang nila yung mga logs na ipaprocess pa lang and isi-ship. For most of the 20th century, itong lugar na to was built entirely around cutting down Taiwan's forests.
And yung mga nakikita nyo dito, mga logs yan. Kasi itong area na to, dati siyang timber processing and distribution center. So, yung mga napuputol nila ng mga puno, dito nila pinoprocess.
By the 1970s, unti-unti nang nauubos yung kagubatan. And yung mga gubat na to ay home to countless endemic species ng plants and animals. So napakahalaga ng mga ito.
Grabe no, ang lalaki ng mga puno na naputol. Pero, ganito yung mangyayari kapag mas prioritize ng gobyerno ang kalikasan.
Eventually, ipinagbawal na ang logging sa Taipingshan area. And doon ngang 1982, itong Forest Railway and yung station na ito ay ipinasara na entirely. Kung dati ay napupuno ito ng tunog ng mga steam locomotives and ng mga bumabagsak na puno, naging tahimik na, half-abandoned ng 2 dekada. Pero instead of letting the land get sold off and paved over, ang Forestry Bureau ng Taiwan spent the 2000s turning the site into an open-air museum. Andun pa rin yung pond, pero wala na yung mga lumulutang na mga troso and mas tahimik na rin.
Ito na lang yung naiwan kasi hindi na siya operational ngayon. Na-preserve nila yung buong area. So isipin nyo dati, itong area na to, punong-puno yan ng mga logs na nanggagaling sa iba't ibang mga parts nitong Ilan area. So itong mga to, mga steam-powered na train and sila yung nagtatransport ng mga logs na iniipon and pinaprocess nila dito sa Ludong. Ayan. Ayan. So parang ganito yung itsura niya. Ganyan. Pero ito maliit pa to. Merong mga mas malalaki pa.
Yung old inspection garage, kung saan sinaservice ng mga mekaniko yung mga tren, ngayon ay nagfa-function na as an exhibition hall telling the story of the Taipingshan Forest Railway.
And all this time, yung kagubatan ng Taiwan nag-recover significantly. Mula nang maban officially ang logging noong 1980s, naging successful ang mga reforestation efforts, bringing the forest cover back to 60% ng island, one of the highest ratios in Asia. Mas napoprotektahan na rin ang native wildlife nila and marami sa mga yan masisilip mo sa next stop natin.
Short drive lang mula sa Ludong, pero dito rin sa Ilan County, matatagpuan mo naman itong building na to, na mukhang sumulpot lang bigla mula sa lupa. Ito ang Lanyang Museum. And kung titingnan mo lang ito mula sa malayo, mukha itong isang higanteng futuristic art installation. Pero isa itong museo. And yung architectural concept nito is built around a single geological idea. Ang tinatawag nilang Cuesta. Ang Cuesta ay isang uri ng rock formation na makikita mo dito sa northeast coast ng Taiwan. Ito yung ridge na yung isang side ay gently sloping tapos yung kabila naman mas matarik talaga. Formed over thousands or millions of years by wave erosion, working against tilted layers of sandstone and shale.
Pero bago natin i-discuss ang architecture, I think makakabuting mag-focus muna tayo sa kung saan ba ito nakatayo. Kasi hindi ito napili at random.
Noong Qing Dynasty, ang main port ng Ilan ay itong Wuxi Harbor. This is the single most important gateway in and out of the entire region.
Then in 1878, isang malakas na bagyo ang nag-dump ng napakaraming sediment sa area. So tumaas ang lupa, bumabaw ang tubig, and gradually it became too shallow to function as a harbor. Yan yung setting ng museum.
And napansin ito kaagad ni architect Chris Yao. Ngayon kasi, wetlands na ito. So, nung nag-iisip siya kung ano dapat yung itsura ng museum, isa sa mga naging desisyon niya ay dapat magmukha itong Cuesta.
So mula sa malayo, mukha itong rock formation din talaga that simply emerged from the coastline. Yung mga material na ginamit carry the idea even further. Yung exterior nito hindi lang basta concrete. It's clad in 4 different types of granite and cast aluminum panels machined into different textures, specifically para gayahin yung layered eroded look nung reef sa paligid. Kapag umuulan, parang nagbabago rin yung kulay nito. And isa pang interesting trivia about it, yung rhythm ng mga panel na bumubuo sa building actually follows Vivaldi's 4 Seasons. Naka-encode ito sa arrangement ng mga granite and ng mga aluminum na panels. And kapag pumasok ka sa loob, mapapansin mo that the museum is organized top to bottom as mountain sa pinakataas, plain, and ocean. And yung best way daw to experience it is mag-start ka sa pinakatuktok and walk your way down level by level. Langyan Museum showcases everything from Ilan's geology and ecosystems to its indigenous heritage, fishing traditions, agriculture, and the history of how people have adapted to this unique environment over the centuries. Pero, instead na mag-focus lang sa artifacts, yung museum connects nature, culture, and everyday life into one cohesive story.
Trivia nga pala, itong figure na to of a beggar, yung mga museum guests daw, laging naglalagay ng coins dito sa cup niya, kahit hindi naman intention ng management. Pero in-embrace na rin nila and dinodonate na lang nila yung naiipon sa charity.
The building was also designed para ma-maximize yung natural ventilation and light, reducing reliance on artificial air conditioning and electricity. By the way, while you're here, daan ka na rin sa Waiao Beach. It's one of the most popular surfing spots dito sa Northern Taiwan.
And kasama ang Lanyang Museum, Wuxi Harbor, and Turtle Island, pinapaalala ng Ilan sa'yo na ang greatest attractions nito ay hindi lang basta scenery, kundi kung paano nila pinapreserve and sinaselebrate yung landscape that has shaped its history, culture, and identity for generations.
Mula sa Wuxi Harbor, punta naman tayo sa Jiaoxi.
Actually, may clue na agad sa pangalan pa lang. Jiaoxi roughly means dry creek kasi nung dumating ang mga settlers from Fujian noong 1796 and they started clearing the land, napansin nila ang isang riverbed na para bang laging nauubusan ng tubig and walang obvious na source.
Ang hindi pa nila nare-realize noon, hindi naman talaga nawawala yung tubig dito. Underground lang siya, geothermally heated, and nagwe-well up on its own.
And hanggang ngayon, kilala pa rin naman ang Jiaoxi for those.
Di ba usually binibili ng malalaking resorts yung mga springs? Tapos i-charge ka na nila ng sobrang mahal na admission fee para lang ma-access mo ang source ng tubig. Pero dito sa Jiaoxi, kung saan yung geographic and commercial center of the town ay itong natural source of the hot springs, they deliberately kept it public.
They turned it into Tangweigo Hot Springs Park na merong landscaped stone channels, wooden boardwalks, pavilions, and free public foot baths.
Medyo mainit, pero relaxing pa rin. Ito pa rin, lalo kung galing sa mahabang lakaran, kagaya na ginagawa natin dito. Ang chika sa amin dito is mas marami tao dito. Siyempre pag winter and spring kung kailan taglamig dito sa Taiwan.
Meron ding traditional Japanese-style indoor communal bathhouses. Merong exclusively for lalaki and meron for babae. And yes, may charge ito na 80 NTD na entrance fee for facility maintenance. Pero again, yung mga foot baths are completely free of charge and open to the public. Of course, pwede ko pa rin mag-book ng luxurious private hot spring suite sa Jiaoxi if yun talaga yung gusto mo. Marami ka namang makikitang ganun din. Pero the source itself is very accessible. Both yung mga locals and mga turista can just show up and magbabad ng mga paa nila for free. The next day, pumunta naman kami dito sa Fulong, specifically sa spot na to with a sweeping view of the coast. Maganda nga yung view, pero we're not here for the destination, but the journey, sabi nga nila. Ang unang stop natin was this small bike rental shop. Maraming available na options. May regular bike, may e-bike, may tandem bikes. So yes, we're going biking. And para marating yung destination natin, kailangan nating magbike through this long tunnel.
For centuries, the only way to travel between kung ano ang New Taipei City ngayon and Ilan was an old mountain trail na sobrang hirap daw tahakin. It wasn't until 1924 nung mabypass ito nang itinayo ang isang railway tunnel na 2 kilometers yung haba.
For over 60 years, yung single-track railway na to was the only connection between Taipei and the entire Ilan Plain. Pero habang nag-modernize and nag-expand yung rail network ng Taiwan to double tracks, unti-unting nawala ng gamit itong tunnel.
Noong 1985, nung nagtayo sila ng mas malaking tunnel, ipinasara na itong original. And for more than 2 decades, hindi na ito nagamit. Yes, 20 years. Until 2008, nung muli itong buksan, not as railway, but as a bikeway.
Kung titingnan mo ito, mukha pa rin itong railway. Yung path kasi through the tunnel, kahit na paved ito, meron itong design sa ground na mukhang train tracks pa rin. So yes, medyo old school pa rin yung vibe. Today, it's the anchor of a loop cycling route that starts at Fulong Station, tapos dadaan dito sa old tunnel, tapos lalabas ka dun sa other side that opens to coastline views. May cliff, may mga fishing villages din, and may mga cafes din.
Saktong-sakto kasi dito sa loob, malamig. Compare mo sa labas na sobrang init. Sobrang humid. Ganda dito. Habulin natin si Yosh.
Hindi na ginagamit yung tunnel na to move goods or people efficiently. Kung tutuusin, pwede nilang hayaan na lang ito na sarado. Pero Taiwan decided na yung tunnel na to was worth preserving as an experience even after its original job disappeared completely.
Pero hindi lang to ang dapat mong i-check out sa Fulong.
Right at the mouth of the same bike loop is this, one of the best beaches within easy reach of Taipei.
And it's a venue for something na hindi mo i-expect from a small coastal town. An internationally recognized sand sculpture festival.
Every year, usually from spring to summer, Fulong hosts the Fulong International Sand Sculpture Art Festival. And for weeks, nagtatayo sila dito ng mga higante at intricate na sand masterpieces. Yung iba, 20 to 30 feet tall.
It's their 19th year na ginagawa to. Nag-start lang sila dati sa 10 sand sculptures. Pero ngayon, nasa 43 na.
This year, ang theme ay Global Summer Sand Sculpture Party, featuring beloved characters from iconic Universal Pictures titles including DreamWorks favorites like Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, and Dragons, alongside classics like Jurassic World, Back to the Future, Jaws, and E.T.
Kakaibang transformation naman to. The festival represents how an ordinary beach town chooses to build a reason for people to come, making Fulong not just a one-attraction detour, but a full-blown destination na dapat mong puntahan.
For our next destination, balik muna tayo sa city, particularly to this river town, Dam Shui.
Danshui Old Street has been a go-to day trip destination for decades.
Hey guys, so nandito tayo sa Danshui Old Street. So isa tong merchant and trading port back in Qing Dynasty ng mga around 1800s. Tapos ayun, ang daming mga pagkain dito. Pagkain, apparels, mga accessories. Tapos iba-iba pa, mga souvenirs, pwede rin bumili. Tapos, yan. Yung buong linyang yan. Mga shops dyan, mga stores ng iba-ibang klase. Actually, nakakatakam nga dito kasi yung mga baked goods, halo-halo na savory. Naamoy ko na, tapos may nakita pa akong mga milk tea shops. Katabi nitong Old Street yung port nila. So, yun yung parang fishing port tsaka yung mga ferry nila. So, kitang-kita yung dagat. So, ganda rin ang view, actually.
Matagal nang pinupuntahan yung Riverside Promenade, yung historic red brick buildings dito, yung mga seafood stalls, and yung mga places of worship like the beautiful Gothic Tam Shui Church, the oldest church in northern Taiwan, and the historic Fuyo Temple.
Pero may isa pang dinarayo talaga dito sa Danshui, yung sunset.
For more than a century, watching the sun go down over the mouth of the Tam Shui River has been considered one of Taiwan's classic scenic experiences. Yung mga locals and mga turista have been walking down this exact stretch of riverbank para lang mapanood yung sunset na ito for generations.
Kaya sobrang interesting nitong newest edition sa skyline nito.
Nito lang May 2026, itinayo and officially binuksan ang Danjiang Bridge, connecting Tam Shui to Bali. Yung bridge na to was designed by the late Zaha Hadid's architecture firm, and ito ang pinakamahabang single-mast asymmetric cable-stayed bridge sa mundo. And the reason na single-mast siya, yung may one tower lang instead of yung usual na dalawa, positioned deliberately off-center, ay dahil sa isang design constraint na para sa mga arkitekto nito ay non-negotiable. Hindi kasi dapat matakpan ng bridge yung sunset.
Kung yung conventional na two-tower suspension bridge ang itatayo nila dito, haharang ito sa view ng sunset mula sa mga usual lookouts. Eh yun nga ang pinupuntahan ng mga tao dito.
So, the design team spent a full year tracking yung ruta ng araw sa langit and sa horizon every season bago nila i-finalize kung saan nila ipoposisyon yung mast ng bridge.
It was engineered to stay out of the way of the view no matter the time of year. Sabi nga ng lead architect ng project na to, the goal was to protect the sunset view down the river and how ordinary people experience their evening.
Kahit na sa pagtatayo ng sobrang modern na infrastructure, yung impulse ng Taiwan is to protect what this place already means to people.
Mula sa Danshui, punta naman tayo sa Banqiao.
Ito ang Lin Family Mansion and Garden na itinayo ng Lin Benyuen clan, isa sa pinakamayayaman and pinaka-powerful na pamilya sa 19th century Taiwan. Ang construction nito nag-start noong 1840s and continued in phases for decades, eventually producing one of the finest examples of classical Chinese garden architecture sa buong Taiwan. May ponds, may pavilions, may covered walkways, and merong elaborately carved stonework.
Pero noong 1949, nagbago ang lahat. After ng Chinese Civil War, dumagsa ang mga soldiers and refugees sa Taiwan, And yung Lin family, pinahiram nila yung property para temporarily patuloyin yung mga incoming troops.
Pero yung temporarily, medyo napatagal. Sa susunod na mga dekada, napuno ang property ng mga squatters and napabayaan yung lugar.
At its worst point, reports describe more than 300 different families living inside the walls. Yung mga structures were thrown up without planning, nabago na rin and nasira yung original architecture, and yung iba, nabaon na under makeshift housing. Decades of neglect settled over the property. Noong 1977, nag-decide ang Lin family na simulan ang recovery nito. I-donate nila yung site na to sa local government kasama ng pondo para ma-restore ito.
Ilang taon din ang ginugol ni architect Han Paute and ng team niya mula sa National Taiwan University. Minap nila yung mga natitirang structures, cross-reference historical records, and they built the garden and mansion back to their original Qing Dynasty form.
And yung full restoration effort nila ultimately cost over 100 million new Taiwan dollars in public and private funding combined. And noong 1986, finally ay na-reopen itong garden to the public. Nearly 40 years after itong mapabayaan. Kapag bumisita ka dito today, yung history na yan, hindi mo na mapapansin na para bang walang nangyari. Ang makikita mo na lang ay kung ano ba talaga yung itsura nito as intended. May half-moon pond, may pavilions, may carved windows, may classical gardens. Nandyan pa rin sila lahat, napakagandang tingnan at nakaka-relax kahit it's in the middle of the bustling New Taipei district na short walk lang from the MRT.
Pero yung dedication ng Taiwan to transformation is most prominent sa isang area within the Taipei city limits. And for that, punta tayo sa Guandu!
Ang Guandu ay part of Taipei City mismo. Pero it's often overlooked kasi medyo detached ito from the city center. Nandito ang Guandu Wharf na merong food park that is becoming popular among locals and the Guandu Temple na inukit sa bundok.
Pero ang story natin ngayon focuses on another corner of Guandu, sa isang wetland at the junction of the Danshui and Keelung rivers.
And maniwala man kayo sa hindi, itong nakikita nyo ngayon, it used to be an illegal dump site.
Yung ilang companies kasi, tinambakan nila illegally ng waste itong area to the point na yung mga bird enthusiasts and conservationists at the time, napansin na nila na may mga dump fields na mas mataas na kaysa sa mga nearby hills and natatabunan na rin ang mga habitat ng rare birds under mounds of waste, threatening to destroy the most ecologically important wetlands in the Taipei Basin.
Yung mga conservationists na to, nilaban talaga nila na mapigilan and totally matigil yung pag-dump ng waste dito. And para maprotect na rin yung land.
And in 1996, the government approved a special budget specifically to purchase and protect Guandu wetlands.
And yun na ang simula ng isang mahabang restoration process. Noong 2001, nailipat ang management ng park sa Wild Bird Society of Taipei, isang non-profit group.
And today, Guandu Nature Park is recognized internationally as an important bird area, hosting over 200 bird species and hundreds of other species across its wooden boardwalks, bird-watching cabins, and restored marshland. Sa visitor center ng park, may mga interactive exhibits na nagnanarrate ng remarkable story na to, specifically how this area was transformed from a dump site into the thriving wetland sanctuary that it is today. Sa second floor naman, merong mga giant binoculars overlooking the reserve, offering a chance to spot migratory birds and other wildlife in their natural habitat. Pero why stay inside when there's so much to explore outdoors? Pwede kang maglakad along Crab Watching Trail, pwede mo ring i-check out itong pond na to, and wander through the tree tunnels with nature-inspired artworks along the way. Don't worry, hindi ka mapuputikan or mababasa kasi may mga wooden boardwalks ka namang susundan. Kapag nag-explore ka dito, it's hard to believe that a place this quiet exists within a city as bustling as Taipei and na dati itong dump site. Malamang narinig mo na itong Taoyuan. Ito lang naman ang location ng pinakamalaking airport dito sa Taiwan and ng isa sa pinakamalaking outlet malls din. But there's more to it than flights and retail therapy. Welcome to Dashi. Dashi started as a river port. Back when the Dahan River was navigable further inland kaysa sa ngayon, may mga small boats na nagmo-move ng tea and camphor, isang resin na madalas ginagamit as ingredient sa kung saan-saan, from Dashi down to the coast. Yung river trade na to made the town rich, and around the 1910s, yung mga merchants na yumaman started rebuilding their shop fronts in a way that is uniquely Dashi. Hybrid style. May Baroque columns and pediments borrowed from European architecture, tapos kinumbine ito with traditional Chinese motifs. Example, may bats and fish carved into the stonework as symbols of good fortune. Nowhere else in Taiwan looks quite like it.
Yung same river trade na to, na nagpayaman and nagpaunlad sa Dashi, ito rin ang nagdala ng mga skilled woodworking craftsmen sa lugar. Hinar sila ng influential Lin Ben-Yuen family. Yes, yung same family na nagpatayo ng Lin Family Mansion and Garden na pinicture natin kanina.
Pero after the project, nagstay na rin sila dito sa Dashi. And over generations, nakilala ang Dashi dahil sa galing sa paglilok ng kahoy. Mapa furniture man yan, temple carving, or fine joinery. And yung mga skill na to ay pinapamana nila down the generations through family workshops.
Eventually ay humina rin ang river trades dahil mas marami ng mga daan and railways ang naipatayo. And yung prosperity ng Dashi faded along with it.
Although yung mga Baroque shopfront stayed standing, yung economic engine ng town nawala na.
Pero syempre, hindi natatapos dyan ang kwento.
Rather than let the woodworking tradition die out with the older generation of craftsmen, Dashi built a wood art eco-museum spread across a cluster of historic buildings, including the old Li Tengfang Mansion dedicated to keeping the craft alive. Yung mga younger generation ng woodworkers, marami sa kanila ay third-generation heirs to family workshops, started forming collectives para ma-modernize yung tradition rather than just preserve it behind glass. So nagde-design na rin sila ng mga contemporary furniture using the old techniques na ginamit ng mga lolo nila while keeping the historical exhibits and hands-on workshops open for anyone na gustong matuto or mag-try nito. Dito naman along the Pingxi Rail Line, matatagpuan ang isang village that most people have heard of for exactly one reason. And hindi ito yung reason kung bakit naitayo yung town to begin with. Ito ang Hutong, isa sa mga pinaka-importanteng coal towns sa Taiwan.
Nagsimula ang pagmimina dito noong 1920s under Japanese rule. And nung kasagsagan nito, it was pulling out over 200,000 tons of coal a year.
More than 6,000 people ang nakatira dito nung peak nito, all connected in some way to the mines, the coal washing plant, and the rail line hauling fuel out to power the rest of Taiwan.
Pero tulad ng timber, coal doesn't last forever. Humina rin ang demand for it nung nagkaroon na rin ng cheaper alternatives sa coal.
Through the 1970s and 80s, nag-decline sharply ang coal industry sa Taiwan, and by the 1990s, tuluyan nang napatigil ang operations dito sa Hutong.
Yung mga mas batang residente, nag-move out na sila para sa city center na magtrabaho. And yung population na dati ay nasa thousands, bumagsak to a few hundreds. Naabandona na rin ang mga mining buildings na nakatayo along the river.
Pero nagkaroon ng bagong sigla itong village. And ang may dala ng bagong sigla na yan, walang naka-expect. Yan ay yung mga
Pusa!
Noong 2008, a local resident and cat lover started organizing volunteers para i-take care yung growing population ng stray cats sa village. Pinapakain nila, sinisterilize nila, vinavaccinate nila, and pinupost nila online. Nakakuha ito ng atensyon so much na yung mga cat lovers from across Taiwan started coming just to see them. And within a couple of years, na-transform ang village from a fading mining town into one of Taiwan's most recognizable cat-themed tourist destinations. Pero yung coal mining history nito never got paved over to make room for the cats. The old Japanese-era mining office from 1932 nakatayo pa rin. And ngayon, housing a small museum na free of charge. May mga exhibits showing what life was like for the miners underground right alongside gift shops na nagbebenta ng soft-serve ice cream and pineapple cakes. And souvenirs din, syempre.
Weird combination sa unang tingin.
Totoo, heavy industrial ruin and whimsical cat tourism, pero it works perfectly kasi pwede mong ma-enjoy ang pareho at the same time.
The grit of what the town used to be and the completely unplanned, almost accidental way it found new life.
For our final stop, let's go higher. Literally.
And preferably by gondola.
Pero Yosh, what's the tea?
This is Mao Kong. And dito ang pag-uusapan natin, Tsaa. Tea has been grown in this part of Taiwan for well over a century.
Noong 1890s, yung mga immigrants from the Anshi region ng Fujian found na yung terrain and conditions ng Muja ay suitable sa pag-grow ng oolong tea.
In particular, yung variety na Tie Guanyin. And over the following decades, sumikat itong Muja Tie Guanyin. Tinrate ito in export and eventually considered among the signature oolong types ng Taiwan.
Kaya lang, by the late 20th century, yung mga tea farmers, they started facing the same problems na kinakaharap ng maraming farmers around the world. Tumataas ang presyo and lumiliit ang kita and hindi na enough yung pagtanim and pagbenta ng raw tea leaves sa city.
So, in the 1990s, yung mga tea-growing families, they started to pivot. Sa halip na magbenta lang ng tea leaves, nagbukas na rin sila ng sarili nilang tea houses right sa mga plantations para sa mga turista na willing to see yung mga tea bushes, mag-brew ng tsaa the traditional way, and tumikim ng mga tea-infused local dishes habang na-enjoy mo ang view mula dito sa hills. So ito yung Baozhong, ito yung lighter, kulay green, and ito yung Maokong Oolong or Tie Guanyin, kulay brown. Chaang-chaami.
It was a way of capturing more value from the same hillside by selling the entire experience of the place instead of just its raw export.
Pero yung isa sa pinaka-turning point ay yung pagbukas ng Maokong Gondola noong 2007.
Yung dating mahabang drive or mas mahabang hike, naging 20-minute ride na lang, tapos ang ganda pa ng view mo of the city and nung landscape beneath you. Today, mayroong 90 tourist-oriented tea plantations dito sa Maokong, dozens of individually styled tea houses, and roughly 60 tons of tea guanyin still produced every year. And much of it stay dito sa mountain, brewed and consumed dito mismo, right where it was grown, by visitors na ito talaga ang sadya.
Itong mga destinations sa listahan natin, nasa 1 hanggang 2 oras lang na biyahe from city center ng Taipei. Pero sa totoo lang, hindi mo kailangang lumabas ng city para makita yung same willingness to embrace change for the better.
Right at the heart of the city, you'll find Xingqian Temple, one of the most visited temples in all of Taiwan. And you won't smell a single stick of incense. Walang smoking urns, walang tables na may fruits, walang paper money na sinusunog. Kasi back in 2014, yung management ng temple made the decision na tanggalin yung mga incense burners and offering tables entirely, asking visitors na magdasal na lang with sincerity instead. Ganon din sa Longshan Temple, one of the oldest and most iconic temples sa Taiwan. Phase out na rin nila yung mga candles in 2019 and they went fully incense-free the following year. Yung move na to ng dalawang temples na to ay to reduce air pollution.
Di ba? Halos similar to sa mga destinations na na-feature natin dito sa video. Whether it's a temple, a garden, a coal town, or a stretch of coastline,
Taiwan keeps finding ways to give old places a future without asking them to forget their past.
And for us, that's the best part of Taiwan. Not a single site, not one building, one bridge, or one dish. It's the pattern of taking what was broken, abandoned, buried, or dying, and deciding it was worth the effort to preserve them. Hindi lang as a replica or a tourist set piece sa isang theme park, but as something that finds a new meaning in today's world, but still remembers exactly what it used to be.
napakaraming pwedeng i-offer ng Taiwan sa mga turista. So kung mapapadpad ka sa Taipei and may free day ka para mag-explore outside the city center, go beyond the usual itinerary. Pili ka ng isa sa mga attractions na present natin in this video.
And malay mo, you won't just fall in love with another destination.
You'll see that dito sa Taiwan, the best attractions aren't just beautiful. they also have something to say.
That's all for now. Remember, plan smart, travel safe, and make every trip worth it!